Hello and welcome to the Spiral Dimension. I'm Dr. Von Hoot and we have Cliff on Comics and we have the Comic Vet. And also we have a passage that really matters. Stephanie took a deep breath and blew it out silently. Well, maybe I'm tired of being someone's chick.
Don't you think that's kind of weird? Not weird, but like exciting weird.
I feel like we all learned something from that. Like it was very important to the future of the world. And with that, I declare this episode of Parliament open. That's the wrong clip.
I didn't say anything.
You're right.
Did that play? It didn't play my end.
You're right.
There we go. We've started Parliament, and now I feel like we're there for the discussion. How's it going, gentlemen? It's a pleasure to see you both.
Always a pleasure to see you as well.
Yes.
Tremendous.
You know, Chris, the way you're giggling so much, it just reminds me how dead I am inside.
No, I just love
steady.
silly stuff, man. I just do.
I know,
No
but
matter how old I am, I still get the giggles at stuff that's just so silly. I love it.
And to think this man has seen war and I'm more dead inside. I just like, let's just all take that in, you know?
No.
This
I love it when they all start clapping, and it's all
right.
That's the part that gets me every time.
This man has played with weapons of mass destruction while on the job, and I'm more dead inside. The first time I saw it, I was like, so cute, and like now I'm just like, here we go, we're good. And he's like, and I'm like, I'm more dead inside. I feel accomplished in a bad way.
Just to let you know how like immature I am, though, when Only Slabs had its former name, Rob's Fat Stacks, his lovely wife, did the intro, and she would say the title. And every time Rob would click the live button, I would still be laughing because his wife put so much into it that I just like, hey, it's like I'm 13 again. It's just, I love the silly stuff.
Yeah. Maybe that's the qualifier that makes me find you attractive. Maybe because like you don't meet any of my regular standards other than you're tall, and tall is fun, and pocket boyfriends are fun, so there's that. But like but you have this gentle joie de vivre, or joie de vivre, and I just love it. I'm just like you're I don't know. In the meantime, I'm just dead inside. Like once in a blue moon, you'll hear my real laugh, and I'm like, that's amazing. How did we get there?
I mean,
well, I love you, Cliff, too. Thank you for that. And I'm glad I checked at least one box.
There's a bit of me that thinks I should move things along, but I have questions.
Yes.
You're quite tall, Cliff. Yes? Well, let's give the audience your actual height.
6'3".
And Chris is 6'1".
Yeah.
185.
So, 185 to those in your neck of the woods, CVH.
So it's relative. Like, whilst Chris is tall, he's not tall compared to you, which brings me questions about the whole.
But
I would have assumed like a tall person would be taller than you. Well,
Tail was taller than me, but I'm just saying, as long as you know how to reach all the right spots, we're good. I've had guys who are 5'7", and we had a good time. But like, there's pros and cons to anyone you date. Like, for instance, with Chris, if we were a couple, we'll be that couple that plays well together. That means when we add a third to spice things up, like we can Eiffel Tower, we can high five, we can do the double splash, and I can keep. And and that's a great way to keep your man happy, because in my fantasy world, my husband Chris is bisexual. So
I have questions. What is the double splash? What
are you familiar with DV?
Bear in mind that we're trying to keep this PG.
I am. That's why I'm used just the initial.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I'm sure you're familiar with the initial for V. So DV would mean 2 in there, and that would create a double splash. If you know what you're doing and you have the particularly appropriate partner.
Yes.
Also,
and you could do that.
Right, if that's what he wants, because I believe in making my man happy.
I see. Right.
Rob.
Okay. I understand. Right, let's say hello to the chat. I know that lady.
See, this is a real laugh. Mrs. Von Hoot. Wonderful.
Yeah,
she's talented.
Really good.
Talented artist.
Is she home this evening, DBH, or is she at a party?
But we've spent the day at a party, so she's a little bit.
You two are a partying couple, so good for you. Good for you.
We are at the moment. It's the last 2 weeks, apparently. It's been happening.
You want to know what's sad? You've hit that age in life where it's all happening now, and then and it happens in cycles, and you're like, yeah. So.
And we have our good friend Rob Fatstacks, your cohort, Chris, on Only Slabs. I missed most of the show, truth be told, because I was at said party.
Okay.
I will be watching it again, and I would encourage everybody to watch it again if you're watching me, and also donate to Comics Curing Cancer, because I only saw a little bit and I felt really bad. So, KBDM, always a pleasure, sir. Legend. Fuzzy Dunlop. This man is a legend. I love this guy. I mean, I'm pointing at you at that point. Just depends where it goes. Like this way. There you go. Fuzzy is tremendous. Rich, always a pleasure. Rich is underrated in so many ways. He is a fantastic cleaner and presser of comics, and he is also nominated for that act in the CBCAs. Everybody should have a look at Rich's content. And I shouldn't say Rich because it's Comic Cap Collectibles. Because if you type in Rich, you're not going to get shit.
Can I just tell you the category, the categorical competition is absolutely terrifying. It is ferocious. It is gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. Everyone I'm up against, I love. Everyone.
We will talk about the CBCAs very soon. But let's just do this first. My guy Izzy, whom gave me some artwork that literally blew my tiny mind with the Sting AOK he gave me, which was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows I'm a wrestling guy. He knows I'm this kind of guy. And I vaguely remember him doing that Sting artwork and thinking he was going to give it to somebody else. And he gave it to me. And when I saw it, I was like, oh.
Izzy is all heart.
He's a good dude. You got to love him. And we've got Rob again, just having a go at Chris.
No, there's nothing.
Garth Wong.
I'm just saying, Chris,
I'm not familiar with Garth Wong, but I've given the thumbs up and the hey, okay. And also, Garth Wong is a great name. Just as a little to the side. I mean, I wonder whether it's somebody already. Oh, we got Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Still only 35. When do you sleep, Dave? Seriously, because I mean, I'm assuming you're in Australia right now. You would assume you got to have a kip at some point.
You know, I just love him, and the fact that he embraces what is British and what is Australian at the same time just warms me.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like I was in. I want to say, was it Legion's chat or I don't know. I said something last night, and he was like, "You used the correct term of ace in a sentence. Well done." And I'm thinking, well, yes, I did. But I understand how being Australian adjacent, you might not get that very much. So, yes.
I gotta admit, I don't use the word ace that much other than when I'm singing along to Motorhead.
Oh.
Which is probably, Motorhead. Again, the correct way of...
I only saw Motorhead once, and it was tremendous. I mean, and I saw it towards the tail end, like just... Yeah. It's like a couple of years before Lemmy died. I saw him on the same bill as Soundgarden when they did a complete version. We're derailing everything. Sorry, but yes, I saw Motorhead and they were tremendous, and I wasn't expecting them to be as good as they were, and they were
and loud,
phenomenal.
Would you say they were aces?
They were the ace of spades.
I would, yes.
Yes,
they were indeed the ace of spades.
I got
it. So, Chris, what watch you with your eyeballs this week?
I gotta admit that there wasn't much. I almost feel like there wasn't much selection. I watched a little bit of NFL football today before I went live, but what? I watched a lot of YouTube this week. And last night I caught the Y-Files new video. They haven't that gentleman hasn't done much other than just compilation videos over the last month or so. The Y-Files. That's what I'll go to. The Y-Files last night with time slipping, and it was I think almost 45 to 50 minutes long. It was a real good episode.
It was good. That's interesting because I did think about watching it last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the precipice of going to sleep, and I saw it was there, and I thought, "Oh, it can wait." But now you're telling me I should have watched it because
it's a good one. Not to say there are bad ones. I would just say there are some that are not as strong as others. Last night was a real good one. Thank you.
Tremendous. Yeah, no, I have limited exposure to the Y-Files, but I do watch it like every now and again. I love the way there is a talking fish. And I'll be honest, that's the main reason I'm watching it. Tremendous. So, Cliff, what watch you with your eyeballs?
Surprisingly, a lot of YouTube, which it was. I don't think this was a stellar week for us overall. I feel like it was very middle of the road. There was some highs, there were some lows. Last night and this afternoon were among the highs. And I really enjoyed my show this morning, so I'll count that in the highs. That's good.
So tell me about the lows. What was the low point of the week?
Do you really want me to get into the low point of the week? Because
I just want. Yeah, no, that's probably.
No, I was gonna say if I pop that sticky lid, the booth is coming out. So we gotta be careful.
I don't want the enraged Cliff for no reason.
So right. So anyhow, I watched Kite Man this week on HBO Max. I caught up on the episodes. So. I mean, it's basically Harley Quinn 2.0, and I'm having a good time. I'm just
Oh,
fine watching
Kite Man has his own show.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes.
I wasn't aware that it was up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's about him and Golden Glider, and they buy the local pub, and of course, he manages to piss off Lex Luthor, and they hire a young woman with a magical cat, host of new channels. Yesterday, yeah, that was so great, and I'm so happy to see Aurora there. Like, bravo, I wanted more people in there that I liked and suggested, but I'll listen. We diversified our pool. They're welcome into our community, and that's what really matters. So yeah, Kite Man's like really fun, in my opinion. If you already like Harley Quinn, there's no reason you shouldn't like this. Bane is part of the cast, so I enjoy that. And the other thing I watched was I have a communications group every week at work, and this week for communications, I focused on the acting skills of Barbara Stanwyck. And I let them have the old age speech, where she's like, let me tell you something, Cardinal de Briscat, about old age, about your God, that vengeful God who ruins our bodies and leaves us with only enough wit for regret inside this stupid body. I am still young. I still feel. I still want. I still dream. And I still love you. Oh, God, how much? Fabulous. It's just amazing.
I can't be the only one watching this that wants to see a whole reel of Cliff doing famous speeches from films right now. Like, that would be... Yes.
So that just reminded me that I want to rewatch The Thornbirds just for Barbara Stanwyck.
I have to point this out because Beckerman is a staunch US, I don't know,
persona.
guy. This is the only parliament he cares about. But also, I have to reach out to Beckerman because next week we're going to discuss All In, which happens tomorrow here, and I feel like he's the man to talk to me about it. Who we got? We've had a lot of clear.
I wasn't going to say anything, but
Did I say focus wrong? What happened?
Focus. Yeah.
I said focus? Okay.
A little bit.
Forgive me for my tooth decay, which is causing nerve damage to my tongue. Once again, by the way, he called me out on my mispronunciation months ago, and I said, oh my God, have mercy on me. Zero mercy. He is bloodthirsty. I love you, Ben.
The funny thing is, I'm just a bumbling Englishman, so when I mispronounce things, it's just because I'm bumbling. It's not because there's anything else I do it.
You guys, can I do Gettysburg? You know what? Maybe Fuzzy, I'll save Gettysburg for next time. I love your accents, and your accents are just wonderful. And like as Americans, we delight in them. Like MJ was telling me, oh, over here, my accent is trash. And I'm like, how is this possible? He's like, nah, here my accent's trash. I was like, no, sir. Come to America where we will love your accent, So the Canadians were down, Italian Canadians, no less, not Italian Americans, Italian Canadians. They might as well be Italian Americans. No one could tell that they were Canadian. And then two of them got into an argument about who had more of a French accent. It was hysterical. And then I played clips of Black Crown and these guys from his channel for my friends and coworkers. I was like, do any of them sound French or Canadian or anything? And they're like, no, sounds like my cousin. And I was like, exactly. I told them right at the table. I was like, I could dump the two of you in New Jersey. No one would know. Like, if you would just blend in.
I'll let you into a little secret about the UK. I guess I can only speak for those people because, well, when people say Italian American, all they think is you're just American. Like is the like because we have actual people from Italy for the Italian bit. Like
because you know they're down the street from you. It's a train ride and boom.
Exactly, we can get there.
I guess on behalf of Cliff, like we're the only real continent that puts hyphens in what their backgrounds are, whereas other continents and countries just like
exactly
that's what they are.
Sort of what I'm getting at. Like,
but
like everybody else is like,
though, there are no more patriotic people than these ones right here. Like as a guy that's been a few places, there's no bravado like the American bravado.
I feel like that's
not even
why
close.
it's such a
sort of odd
situation.
Jesus is American.
Oh, that's gonna get some heat. But,
I'm just saying, just ask
like
Beckerman.
it's like because everybody is everybody that is American really loves being American, but at the same time they're very quick to be like, I'm American, but I'm also this other thing, which is sort of a really interesting dichotomy.
You mean the fact that I'm like Puerto Rican, Canadian, American? But the thing is,
exactly. It's from an outsider's perspective. It's a very interesting thing to observe because you don't get it here. Like nobody's going like, you know, I'm English, but at the same time, like I'm also half Welsh.
I know there's Muslim districts in your country. Like, what do those people see themselves like? How do they like? You know, that's right. The Fonz is Jewish. Don't forget. How do they represent like culturally?
I mean, I'd have to talk. I can't speak for them. Like, I wouldn't ever.
Does it never come up? Because I watch your shows, and like some of the shows, it's just never a topic, right?
Exactly. Like, but generally speaking, if you're from England, you're probably going to say, I'm from London or I'm English. Like, if you see what I mean, it doesn't matter about your background heritage to a degree in the sort of, I mean, it does matter. That's not true. Of course it matters.
Yeah. I mean, y'all got racism
but
too. I've seen
you aren't going to identify it. Like, if you see what I mean, you just want to be like, you know, and also like from the perspective of somebody that is, I mean, I don't know whether you know, but like I'm under here, I'm just, you know, I'm a white guy. I don't know the background, but also the other guy that isn't white doesn't tell me either, and also I don't. It's not a discussion. You see what I mean? We don't have that discussion ongoing constantly about where the background is from.
Is this why my friends of color from your country are like, oh, the racism here, it's just very subtle, very subtle. and I'm like,
oh, I'm sure. Like, there is definitely racism in this country. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, and it more or less makes me absolutely sick. Like, I cannot stand the idea of it on a base level. So, like, maybe I'm just a bit sort of like, because I don't, like, because it annoys me so much that it exists, maybe I'll make a point of being like, well, you're just an English guy because you live in London and you were raised in London, like, because, well, you're from London. Like if you see what I mean, like just because your skin is different to me doesn't make you not a guy from London. If you see what I mean, like but I feel like we've derailed the situation quite verbosely. But I think also it's important to have these discussions about, you know, oh, hang on. Yeah, Fuzzy's bringing up Greece too. Yeah, I'm going to start another war. That's important. I should definitely.
I don't think that
stick to
this
Grease
is.
too.
I think we are all. We three are clear of war starting. You know. And by the way, to
I would
clarify,
like to hope so.
the actor playing Fonzie, I believe, is Jewish. Now I gotta. No, he is Jewish. I know he's Jewish. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Henry Winkler. Yeah.
Henry Winkler. It's in the Hanukkah song.
But more importantly, he's a good human being.
He's a national fucking treasure.
He's
Is
right
what
up
he
there with
is.
Dolly
Like,
Parton.
that's my
Mhm.
first F-bomb on this channel.
Yeah.
Like I love Henry Winkler. That man is tremendous. He's managed to make a career after the Fonz that has just raised up every single time he's done something. I don't know whether you've seen Barry.
Barry, he's phenomenal in Barry.
The man is just wonderful, and Barry is.
Can we also pay respect to the Water Boy as the coach of that football team? Like his comedic chops were tremendous in that.
I mean, that's wonderful. But for me, the shocker for me, the principal in Scream.
Oh, that's right.
Good
call.
What is Winkler doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also Scream.
And that's how you get away from a race war conversation. Talk about the Fonz.
I mean, I didn't think we were having
Talk
that
about the
conversation,
Fonz,
but
talk about Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Talk about people who can unite us.
So, I watched.
Like typical Canadians and the English are stirring up trouble while peace-loving Americans watch.
It's my fault. I should not have delved any deeper then. Okay. I saw Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths parts 1 and 2 yesterday. And I've got to say, I loved the first part. The second part, it was watchable, and bear in mind, I have read the books, but I'm not an expert. I read it once.
Reading the prices doesn't quite prepare you for watching this animated three-parter. Because, I mean, for God's sakes, the origin of Harbinger is she's Supergirl. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so they throw a few Killing Joke curveballs into this story then?
Oh, it's not the same. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I gotta tell you, when the antimatter wave is like, going and crushing various worlds, like it's fun. It's like Kevin Conroy's fighting the Joker, and he's like, if we're gonna die, I'm gonna die as Batman. And then the Hall of Justice, like Super Friends Batman is like reading a report, realizing what's happening, and the wave is coming to kill, the Super Friends. I was like, damn, like they just pulled it out,
Oh.
I really enjoyed the first part because it basically tells the story from the perspective of the Flash for the most part. And then the second one is sort of from Supergirl's perspective. I don't think that's a spoiler. Like, it just is. That is fire.
Has this happened yet as someone that hasn't seen either film?
No, I've not. Like, I'm not on the third one yet. I would assume that happens. I'm looking forward to the third one still. But I would say, like, the second one was like hit and miss. I like the stuff with Psycho Pirate quite a lot, but at the same time, it felt a bit disconnected all the way through and confusing. Whereas the first one seemed like intentionally confusing, if that makes any sort of sense.
Because it's all these different worlds coming together. But the first one introduced us to Amazing Man, who I love, and he had a bit of a moment in the first movie. And then that was it. Okay, we don't need him now. And I'm like, what? I was so mad.
Yeah, see, if I was going to criticize anything about this animated show, it would be that they don't really play around with the look of anything. Like, you're just getting the the same stylized world, no matter which world you're in. And
Okay.
it would be nice if they went full on sort of like Spider-Verse style. Everything was a little bit different depending on where you're looking and how it's.
So guys, there's no Hanna-Barbera flavor animation versus.
There is for the Super Friends.
For the Super Friends. Okay.
But the Super Friends barely do anything. And the Batman the Animated Universe world, it looks like Batman the Animated Universe, the animated series. But outside of that, he's right. Superman and Superman, you can't even tell them apart. You know, and they're like hanging out together, like discussing being nearly immortal, but not immortal.
Yeah, it's weird. I am looking forward to the third one. I think I'll probably see it on Monday. It'll be a little while.
One last question about this, then, boys.
Sure.
Have they tried to introduce the Watchmen or Dr. Manhattan into this script at all? I know the Watchmen had nothing to do with Crisis, and I believe that Watchmen actually came out afterwards. But I was curious if they're going to try and put in Dr. Manhattan or any of the the big sexy characters from Watchmen into this, just to try to give them a little bit of their own world. And we know that Dr. Manhattan is almost omnipresent.
The people in charge of this segment of DC animated movies were told you get 10 movies, that's it. And they decided to make their last 3 movies Crisis as a wrap-up, and I believe this segment of DC animated is called the Tomorrowverse, and it just did not work. And then God knows what's coming next, because unless it's labeled an Elseworld, apparently it's going to be tied directly into DCU. Like Creature Commandos will be tied directly to DCU, but Kingdom Come will be an Elseworld animated movie.
Okay.
So I look forward to seeing how that plays out.
So, I don't want to spoil it for myself, really, but I was expecting some sort of tie-in at the end of the third one to lead to the Watchmen. But is it a straight line, as it were? Like this is done. We're not there is no connection between the two. Actually, don't answer it. I'll watch it. I'll find out, and everybody else should too. That would be easier. So let's move along with what read you this week, and let's start with Chris.
I'm just going to say what was my favorite read. You would think I'd go Ultimate Spider-Man, but goddamn, Get Fury's just been so damn good.
Everyone is talking about this. This is the book that would the latest under the radar book. It just showed up, and people are like, "Oh my goodness, I'm loving it!" And of course, it's characters that normally don't entice me whatsoever.
Yeah, and it does have its word soup moments. It is Garth Ennis, but the fact that Marvel allowed it to come under the Max brand has been so good. Like, I know that right now they're trying to push the red band and try and sell a little bit for $1 more or whatever, but Get Fury has been really good. Again, quick premise on the book. Nick Fury's been captured during Vietnam era time, and the United States government goes and contracts an unknown Frank Castle to go and get him, and it has been excellent. Excellent. I thought I was going to get like the Nam vibes from back in the late 80s when I was reading that type of war comic book. It's not that. It's different, and it's highly recommend. I'm sure everyone can get this for still cover price. Like, I don't know if it's going to take off like on the secondary market or whatever, but I really, really recommend this. I know a lot of people are all about the Ultimate Universe and a handful of other Marvel titles that are clicking right now. But I said it before, and I'll say it again. The best limited series that Marvel's putting out right now is Get Fury. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm not sure, Jason Burrows, I'm not familiar with that particular artist, but it is really clean artwork in here. And I recommend it. I fell off after issue 2. I thought it was no. Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. That everyone has their own cup of tea.
Fuzzy says no. I'm with Fuzzy.
Okay.
And by that I mean I haven't read it yet. So.
Oh, okay.
I I hear so many good recommendations, and I feel a bit silly for not having read it.
That's
But
okay.
now I'm going to make it happen. Like, I want to know, because it does. Again, like, I don't like overly wordy stuff. If you've been,
Yeah,
anybody paying attention to me will know that, like, it's an automatic sort of like, for me. But
there are very few panels that are just action. It does have those few moments, but that's not Garth Ennis. Let's be honest. If you read Garth Ennis stuff before, you know that you're gonna get communication across the board. I don't know if that's because he doesn't trust his artists to deliver what needs to be delivered in the panel artwork. But it is, like I said, it's bright, it's clean. You think it would be dark and dirty because it's Vietnam era stuff. No, it's really good. I recommend this. Like I said, if you can go get the floppies for cover price, do yourself a favor, or wait for the series to be finished. Pick up a trade or whatever. I see Fuzzy saying issue 1 was unbelievably good. Yeah, I thought it would eventually trail off. Issue 4 dropped a couple days ago. This is as good as I thought all the way along.
They do have phenomenal covers as well, and as a cover guy, I'm a bit sort of like, I should have done it. Cliff, what read you this week?
Before I mention that, did I ever show you my original art cover page that I had commissioned a couple of years ago of Tommy Jarvis versus
I mean, if you didn't, it would be a good time to do so, would it not? Okay. Right, let's make it happen.
Oh my.
Holy moly. No, I've never seen that before. Like, I'd remember that. Okay. Wow.
Right? It's something else.
Yeah.
Do you really like it?
Yeah.
And can you imagine what Teen Titans cover it is an homage to?
I mean,
all right, it's an homage to the new Teen Titans second series, number 19, 1984 series. Donna Troy is fighting with Dick Grayson. So Dick Grayson's on the floor. The gymnasium mirror is cracked behind him, and Donna's standing over him. But in this case, it's just murderous Jason. And of course, there's the sexual overtones, because this is a piece for me. Prettier than my wife.
Come on.
But I'm glad you like it.
I love it. I don't just like it. I mean, I would pay monies for it. It's that good.
Yeah, I paid good money for it, so it was like a whole thing.
I bet. Yeah, that's not going to be cheap, is it?
No, but you can find my buddy on the YouTubes, Raymond Lowell. I'm trying to find his YouTube thing. Not YouTube. Sorry, Instagram. His Instagram. Anyhow, it's RB Lowell, Lowell. And of course, he takes commissions. That one was around $350, I think. I obviously did it during a time where I had more money. But
I think that happens to everybody sooner or later.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just incredible.
It is an astonishing piece of art. Like that. That's tremendous.
He loves horror, and like, so anyhow, obviously I've been trying to reconfigure this room, and I found this, and I was like, oh my god! And then of course I know you love horror, so I was like, did DVH even see this?
There, yeah, that's the original there. I found a copy of it.
Right.
That's a pretty good homage.
I mean, it really is. Like, yeah, no, I didn't have any clue what you were talking about with the actual thing, but like, wow.
And I sent him cabin pictures, like like the bunk beds and stuff. I sent him cabin pictures so that he could make the appropriate background.
I mean, it really is bang on. What made you go for that specific issue? That's really interesting.
First of all, I love George Perez art, right? I love the Teen Titans, and I wanted an homage, but I wanted something that no one expected. And Raymond had posted like, "Hey, I'm doing stuff right now, blah 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 blah. If you can help out, hit me up. This, that, the other thing, right?" So I was like, you know what? I can do it. I was like, I want a piece, right? And I told him exactly what I wanted, and he sent me progress along the way. He was wonderful, I mean, he showed up to my that year. He came for my Toys for Tots event, and he had it with him, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. That's a wonderful piece.
Yeah. But like I wanted something. Oh, also he loves horror, he loves Godzilla. So I wanted something in his wheelhouse, but that like mirrored something, pun intended, that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought this is it. He repeatedly asked me, he's like, "Do you want more penis?" And I was like, "No, I don't need it to be overly sexual." He goes, "Yeah, but this is for you." And I was like, of all the times I didn't need it to be over sexual, it was like sex. But I love
more penis.
Well, I guess his psychology is like sex and horror go hand in hand, regardless of the situation.
And I wanted an air of that. That said, what I read this week, and it actually brought me to tears. If you haven't heard me say it before, Chris, Spider-Woman number 10. I did not expect this series to end. I was suspicious that this book did not have any variant covers. I started reading this book because Spider-Boy crossed over. Then I stuck with the book because the Assembly started appearing here. And then this last issue caught me off guard. She gives a beautiful, impassioned speech to the Assembly kids who were all birthed and manipulated by Hydra about you are not what Hydra did to you. You are whatever you are from this day forward, right? And like I'm paraphrasing heavily, but it was so beautiful. And then she leaps off the building, and it ends with never the end. And then Steve Fox has a whole page at the end talking about what a pleasure it was to write this, how it was only supposed to be a 4-part miniseries for gang war, and it turned into 10 issues. Anyhow, I was sobbing. And that's just some of it. I was sobbing because the battle she's having with the villain about her son, I was sobbing. So then I wrote to him Wednesday morning, and he wrote back to me Wednesday morning to thank me for the kind words and how he loved working on it, and he would love to write her again, and how the guy's name I can't remember who works on Iron Man and X-Men, he is going
Jerry Duggan.
Thank you. Jerry Duggan will continue Jessica's story, this part of Jessica's story, the search for her son. He will continue that later. But if you want to catch more Jessica, she's in Spider Society. But he wrote all this to me, thanked me. He said, I'm glad that the undertones resonated with you throughout all the action. And the thing is, like, I was never too crazy about Steve's X-Men. But this book caught me off surprise. I read those issues, decided to go back to issue 1, read up to 10, and 10 slapped me around, and that was it. So
you can't get much stronger recommendation than that, can you? Like I'm like, I need to read this now. Like I need to know what do I need to start at a certain point? How will I get the feels? Give me where I can get the feels.
The feels once she becomes hyper focused on finding her son, that's where your investment comes in. And then you meet the new kids, and Jessica feels terrible because she's like, I am fighting a Hydra base, and these kids are like acting like superheroes and think everything's great. This can't be right. This can't be great. And sure enough, she's right. Like the kids are horrifically manipulated, Right. And then in this last issue, the villain tells Jessica everything. I did to these children exactly what I did to your son. And it's like, oh my God, So
it's a 10-issue series, and we should probably have a look. You should
have, actually, I don't want to ruin it for you because you'll see the villain if I show. Hold on, let me look at this page. I want to make sure I don't reveal the villain to you. It is very action-packed. and kind of crazy. All right, let me cover the reveal section. And you can see what Hydra was doing to these kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right? So imagine the villain is discussing this with Jessica while being like, and you haven't found your son, and I did this to him. And I really loved, she was quite impassioned, and I was impassioned with her. And I don't know, Steve just like hit a groove. One thing that I think was special about this is that Jessica sounded like Jessica, a little rough and tough, like she should. And I like when people write characters outside of their box, but they make sure the characters sound like the character.
Yeah.
Like if I ever read a series of books and Batman, spent the entire 64 pages, singing Christmas carols and decorating and decking the halls, I would find that a little suspicious and out of character.
Yeah. And in the same way, I can't remember what I think it was All-Star Batman, maybe. I don't know. I read it years ago.
All-Star Batman, that was insane.
It was like when Frank Miller wrote him like a complete dick. Like he was like over the top. Like he wasn't Batman. It was just he was an awful person in whatever it was. It might have been All-Star Batman. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the Frank Miller All-Star Batman is absolutely insane. And there's reasons that the book was never finished.
Okay, so I have read a couple of things this week. I read Geiger from last week, which was excellent. And the trouble is that's uniformly the answer for Ghost Machine stuff. Anything that Jeff Johns does at the moment is just it's really good. The same goes for Redcoat, which I read this week, which was tremendous and filled in some blanks it had a twist at the end of the book, which I'm not going to spoil, but is important to the run for sure. I like Redcoat a lot, but it's probably the third one on my list of like the best Ghost Machine. Like
I'm loving
Rook and Geiger are sort of like fighting for position. And then Redcoat is sort of like the other guy. But that doesn't mean that I don't think Redcoat is really good, because it really is. But Rook is remarkable what he's doing with Rook. And I mean, the Faybox art is just like, it's next level every single time. And Ultimate Spider-Man. That was the other thing that I read this week, and I thought it was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And that
book delivers.
It nearly is every time. I mean, there was one issue, like the dinner table issue, which was a little bit like, all right, you're bordering on.
I think that was
like this
4, maybe.
I want to say 4, yeah.
And guess what? I still found that issue scintillating.
Yeah,
it was good. It was
still
really
better than
good.
ASM.
Yeah, still better than ASM.
Little Kyle.
Hey, I love me some Kyle. He's a great guy. Yes, so Ultimate Spider-Man is the Spider-Man of preference in this house right now. Even above Miles a little bit. And previously, Miles had been my go-to with Spider-Man. And I do love Miles. And I do collect Miles. Like, if you were to ask me, which Spider-Man do you collect? I would say Miles. Like, that's what I collect. But what I'm saying is, Ultimate Spider-Man is a really good read every single time. Near enough, with the exception of that one. But it was still good. Like, I'm not knocking it. It's just Oh, who we got?
Oh my God, get rid. I feel so bad for Zeb Wells.
Well, I mean, was it good? I didn't read it, so I can't comment.
Well, it's the previous volume. It's almost cool to poo-poo it, but Nick had to tie up a lot of loose storytelling over the time. But I'm one that often says, hey, we had much better covers than we did storytelling throughout that particular volume. This volume is much better storytelling. It's just not good stories overall. Remember, we had a couple issues where it was Peter and Black Cat, their day at the spa. Like this, I get that every monthly has filler issues here and there, and it happens. But I just find there's way more filler this particular volume with Zeb Wells than the previous one, and that's not to say there hasn't been moments of greatness in this one, because there has been, but there just seem to be few and far between. And I don't know if it's because I'm just being hypercritical of it as a hardcore Spider-Man fan, but if you look at Miles and you now look at Ultimate Spider-Man, and to a degree also Spider-Woman, as Cliff has been saying, you can get good storytelling for short periods of time. So I think The Amazing Spider-Man needs to start switching up writers every 12 to 15 issues. I think maybe it's time we just give writers a season, like 12 issues, and then hand it off. I don't necessarily mean change volumes or restart with issue number 1 over and over again, but I just kind of think maybe it's time we shorten lengths, because Nick Spencer had 80 issues. Zeb Wells is now approaching, or is in almost at 40, and you're not seeing positive responses. Cody Ziegler is with Miles, and he's now in the 20s. People aren't saying negative stuff about Miles that way. You just heard Spider-Woman was supposed to be 4 issues, and then it turned into 10. And Ultimate Spider-Man's Aria issue 8, and we've been talking about, one issue was kind of weaker compared to that because, hey, they were sitting at a dinner table. Hey, guys, if I could reach out to the editor-in-chief of Marvel and just say, my God, man, give ASM 12 to 20 issues. Even if you want to go 20 issues, just give it to one writer that everyone is loving at the moment. What's the name of the Canadian writer that was handling Moon Knight for a number of years? Not Chip Zdarsky, but the guy that was out on the East Coast. I forget. Why am I blanking on his name? He's actually in Toronto. The gentleman that, like I said, that did Moon Knight. Who?
Is it Jeff Lemire? No,
not Lemire. Anyways, that the guy who did Moon Knight. Moon Knight to me was nowhere on the map, and then all of a sudden, Jed McKay took over Moon Knight, and people are loving Moon Knight. Like they lost Chip Zdarsky to DC, to him to take over Batman, when they should have, when his Daredevil run was finished, offered him the Amazing Spider-Man. Not to say that he would have been great, because his Batman hasn't been super received. Neither was Tynan's. But when you take them away from the Batman title, they're incredibly well-respected writers. Personally, I'd like to see Rom V be given ASM. Just give us a nice, dark, gritty 10 to 12 issue run. If you want to play the Supernatural, play the Supernatural. But on top of it all, for the love of God, take John Romita Jr. off the pencil work.
Oh,
rant over.
We agree.
Rant over.
I think it's okay to have big runs with people, but there needs to be expectations. Like, Zeb has been telling a story that should be done in 12 issues for 50 issues, right? And just pulling every trick out of the box to make it interesting. And I am absolutely convinced that Marvel is purposely doing this for some reason. I have a feeling ASM is tied to Sony Spider-Man BS, and I have a feeling that's why.
Like the Fantastic Four a few years ago.
Yeah, like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men being tied to Fox, right? I have a feeling ASM is tied to that, where somehow Ultimate Spider-Man is not.
Well, that's my problem with this theory, in so much as, like, we know that it's tied to Sony, and the idea might be to try and diminish their property because it doesn't favor Marvel Disney branch. Yeah. But at the same time,
we have Miles.
Like, any which way, ASM is still the number one book for Marvel, so it doesn't really track like you.
But why is it the number one book, right? Do we know? We do know the answer. The answer is the variants. All the Disney 100 variants are ASM books, period. All these gorgeous Terry Dodson, bosom lady, headlight lady covers, Amazing Spider-Man. Black Cat, MJ, and every other.
J. Scott Campbell.
Right, J. Scott Campbell.
The point being that they want to keep it hot. Like, that's why they're doing that. But at the same time, they're putting out a subpar narrative. Like, which it doesn't. If you want to keep something hot and you're putting out a subpar narrative, it doesn't, like, if you're taking away from something, it doesn't make sense.
Keeping it hot with, like, the covers, right, is good for sales, right? And keeping a subpar narrative so that the reviews are low so that it hurts Sony. If you're trying to hurt Sony, it's a very calculated game plan, you know?
But, like, Sony's not going to give them up. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely.
There's no number in the world where Sony, like, wasn't there a number that Sony threw a number out at Disney and Marvel? Like, if you want him back, this is the number. And they scoffed at it.
The only way, in my opinion, it will happen is if Sony is bought by Disney. Like, which is about as likely as, you know, firing a rocket into the sun and it making Christmas everywhere.
Or we can just drink salt water straight. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Do you remember when they got hacked and their president's password was password? Let me tell you, one more incident like that, and Disney will just swoop in and absorb them.
Yeah, you know, I've said this a few times over the last couple of years. When you take Peter and you put him in a limited series like Spine-Tingling Spider-Man and the story that Taboo did, those are much better stories than what you're getting out of Amazing Spider-Man. Even going into issue 700, where we had the Red Goblin, that little arc before Dr. Octopus took over Peter, that was not good. You know, this has been happening for a while. And I'm not going to talk about Brand New Day or stuff like that. I'm just saying stuff in the last 5 years, so a little bit before COVID and since COVID, the Amazing Spider-Man has not been solid without pound for pound, we haven't had an incredible 12 issue volume where I can say to you, well, guys, we did have this little arc, you know, like I can say with different characters. Hey, Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty. You didn't read it, you missed out. That was wonderful. Lanzig and Kelly did a terrific job with Steve Rogers. I can say that. And there's a handful of other arcs as well. What Jerry Duggan is doing on Iron Man is really good. What Al Ewing did for 50 issues with the Immortal Hulk was incredible.
Yeah.
But we just haven't had that with the Amazing Spider-Man in that particular title. And I can go to Miles and say Empire of the Spider was hands down the best Spider-Man story of the last 5 years, in my opinion, outside of a limited series. But I don't know why they're doing this to Peter. It kind of sucks. Like I said, I thought Zeb Wells would be the breath of fresh air. I'm not saying he's Nick Spencer 2.0, but it hasn't been much better. And that's sad because Spider-Man is, in my opinion, the most recognizable superhero on this planet. You go to whatever country, you show a picture of Spider-Man, and that person knows who he is.
I mean,
And Marvel
like,
should be doing better.
I don't know whether I agree with that statement, but at the same time, I'm not gonna debate it. Like, I feel like it's right there. Like,
I get it.
I would say if Marvel wanted to rehab ASM, not Spider-Man, because everybody loves Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
but ASM as a title, what they should do is do 5 to 6 issue runs back to back that tell individual stories, and that would bring good faith back to that book, because you would get, like, even if you don't dig that one arc, you would get another one soon, and you wouldn't have to wait a million years for a ridiculous outcome that makes absolutely no sense after, I don't know, 50 issues or whatever ridiculous thing that they've done in the recent times. And I mean, you said it yourself, like that, like the mini series is where Peter shines right now, outside of Ultimate Spider-Man. But there's no reason why it couldn't be a part of ASM. It's just they're bogged down in this continuity stuff that really, like, just cut it off, do an arc for 5 or 6 issues, and say, there you go, you got a story. That's all you need.
Let's just take Peter out of the love life. Like, just remove the whole love life part and just put him in the middle of some sort of crime where he's trying to figure out what's going on. Put off. Don't give us the Sinister Six. Give us 1 or 2 baddies and move forward that way. Like, it just right in the middle of Manhattan. Let them have some fun. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be, oh, we're syncing up this story with the next. It's okay to actually end an arc and say the end. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at Kraven's Last Hunt. It literally says the end.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah. Like, Kraven's Last Hunt is the archetype for it is the best Spidey story, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But, like, if you look how it's structured, you don't need it has the backstory, but it isn't about the backstory. You've got the self-contained narrative of that story, and then you get some, like, resolution at the end, which is really important in a story.
And again, you only had it's Kraven's Last Hunt, but people sometimes forget you actually had 2 villains throughout that entire 6-issue arc. You had Kraven, obviously, and Vermin. So, like, you don't need to go over the top with a whole bunch of different characters. But I don't want to hijack this show with talking about the Amazing Spider-Man and AR. I did say Nick Spencer did clean up a little bit, but overall that doesn't mean the storytelling was good quality. You don't need 80 issues to talk about one villain that ended up actually being 2 villains. Anyways.
So true. So true.
Well, I feel like, as you point out, we could talk about ASM for a long time and probably not come to anywhere near a satisfying conclusion. So, Mal question time. And by that, I mean, if there are any pressing questions in the chat, let's bring it forth. But I would like to say, like, how do you feel about last night's announcements in the CBCAs? And I mean, from my perspective, I think it was a great plethora of new incoming channels to the CBCAs. Like, there were a lot of new things, and that's not a knock on the older stuff, or like myself. Like, I consider myself older. I like my stuff. That's why I do it. And I mean, I should also point out, let's remove this, because I would like to say, because I brought it up, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that voted for us. And I mean, the kid absolutely thought we were being nominated beforehand. And I can't say I agree with her in so much as like I never assumed that's gonna happen, but it is a wonderful thing that people watch my content and think I'm in the same ballpark as other people. So thank you for that. But also,
Another one.
Oh boy, Higgins hitting us with his DJ Khaled impression. Nice.
Who?
Mike.
Oh my God.
Hey guys.
how you doing, Mike? All right?
Fresh
yeah.
from his tower at the center of the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would just like your thoughts on sort of the way it played out last night. Like let's not go long on it, but I'm very happy personally that I was nominated because I didn't expect it, but also that I saw so many new channels and also other channels that I really love that got a lot of love. Like Trev and K-pop last year were sort of like on the fringe of it, right? Whereas this year they are front and center, and it's tremendous. Really lovely stuff.
Which of us do you want to go with?
I mean, well, I sort of felt
Everybody all
like
at
Mike
once.
is fresh. Why not bring him in? Let's go.
I loved it. I mean, every year it's been an upgrade, right? Every year it's gotten better. Every year it's gotten a little bigger. And just like you said, it's always nice seeing new faces, especially on the outreaches, especially when you're watching, the him bring up the names and everything, and there's a couple of people that you don't know. You're like, oh man, that's cool. I mean, especially like as long as we've been in the game, it's kind of rare to find new channels, kind of thing. No, but I mean, just like last year, the production value was there with DJ Lings. I mean, the it's just fantastic. I get all excited watching it. Even though like I specifically didn't work on my angle towards. I mean, I wasn't, but like it's good to see a lot of channels get recognized that hadn't got recognized before. That's kind of a big thing for me. I don't know, my thoughts.
That's right. We are all finalists. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely to see that I don't know how to explain it, but like whenever I have been nominated, I've always felt like it's not about winning an award, but it's more to be in the conversation with people that I respect.
Recognized. Yeah.
It's like putting us, like my peers are actually my peers, which is lovely. Chris, how have you felt about it?
Well, it's bittersweet. For me, I was hopeful that Show Us What You Got would have been nominated for Community Hangout. It didn't happen for my channel that way. So that
hang on a sec. Like I've got to answer Grey Man's question there. Last night they released who was nominated. So we haven't won anything. We've just been nominated for the. Yeah. So if you haven't heard anything, then I would suspect you haven't got to the nomination stage. Unfortunately, like that's just no. Definitely, you deserve it though, mate. Like I'm not saying any different, but sorry, Chris.
No, that's okay. When you do this, when you take the step forward, and we've all been through that first step to get onto YouTube, it takes a lot of inner strength. Not everyone has the ability to step forward and show their face and speak to something that they feel passionate about and try to come across as they know what they're speaking of. So when you do that and you receive nominations about what you do out here, that people think of you enough to type out your channel's name or your little niche in that, is an incredible thing. So that's why earlier today, before Rob and I went live on Only Slabs, it was just him and I backstage, and I told him thank you. I said, Rob, I know this was your brainchild, but we've been doing this hand in hand for better part of almost 3 years at this point. And I just wanted to say, I know this was your idea, but I'm happy with our baby. And he was just like, yep, Chris, like you're right. And he goes, I know that you're the one that does the jokes and talks about, hey, remember Only Slabs. If you won something, you owe us a nomination at least. So that's the part where I talk about it's bittersweet. Like Rob and I do a lot for that show. I shouldn't say Rob and I. It's probably like 80% Rob and 20% me with setting up the show. So when we got 2 nominations last night, and Rob really downplays it, he actually might be truthful saying that he doesn't care about it, but I do, because when you donate an amount of time, especially what we do on Saturday, like for me, it's like Saturday afternoon, I'm giving up a part of my Saturday afternoon. It's nice for the acknowledgement. And that's why I know Mike and Trev do their thing Sunday night, and you're giving up time on your Sunday. And Cliff is one of the busiest men on Wednesdays. So I know it's nice when you donate.
Cliff is one of the busiest men in history on YouTube.
Council of Comics got a handful of nominations too. So that's why, like I said, it's bittersweet that, hey, the one that I'm proud of myself when it comes to just me, show us what you got, didn't get nominated for Hangout. All right, well, there's always next year, and I will be talking about it nonstop once nominations start next year. However, the one that I'm fortunate enough to have a partner with on YouTube did get 2 nominations. So that's the part I was talking about. It's so nice, because that first step, like I was saying, to go onto YouTube is a frightening experience, because when I did it over 3 years ago, I didn't have my face on my camera. It was just what I was talking about. And then after a little while, I decided, okay, I'm going to show my face and take the next step. So I know that the 3 of you would probably agree with me. It's so sweet, for lack of a better term, to get the nomination after you take those steps. And that's why we've all talked about, we found out about channels last night that we didn't know existed. Like, that's why they need to be celebrated too, because who knows how long it took them to take those first steps. Like that Aurora show. Like I don't know how long it took for those ladies to build up the courage or to talk about, hey, we need to do something. But that's the one thing that I think is just so special about the awards, is we're acknowledging people for what they do. And it's the communication that has gotten them to the point of being nominated, because they're just presenting themselves and what they're passionate about.
That specific channel I had no idea about beforehand, which is, I mean, I like to think that I'm across the board in sort of,
thank you, Rich,
like channels that are around, but nothing. Yeah, Cliff.
Who's blowing me up? All right, first of all, Aurora, love it, because like they cover comics, media, women, health, everything. I love that. And of course, like last year, I don't think many of you knew who I was last year without the Comic Book Community Awards. I remember a lot of who the F is the Council of Comics. I'm like, hi.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You kicked the door in, and now I couldn't live without you, man. Like, I mean, I would be desolate on my own. I'd just be staring at the corner of this room. It's not a good-looking corner. Like, it would be awful. Like, I need Cliff in my life, and that's what the CBCAs does. I mean, it brings new people into the fold, which is really important.
So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. We're nominated in 2 categories. I'm devastated by our competition because I'm like, first of all, Aurora knew, right? And like, I want them to succeed. But then, like, oh, look, all my friends, I'm up against everyone I love. Remy, K-pop. I'm like, it's fun. Marcus, who finally got a nomination, and I just get to do battle with all of them. Isn't that wonderful? But there's one thing that I need for everyone to understand. Freaky Louie must win most comedic this year. We must do everything in our power to make that happen.
I 100% co-sign that. Yeah. He is a genius and should be recognized for his contribution. And it's outrageous that it hasn't already happened. And if it doesn't happen this year, then it's an indictment of everybody that should be voting for him, because the man, like, whether you think he is funny or not is irrelevant, really. It's because he puts in so much freaking effort into that stuff.
He's brave, very brave.
He's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I don't find it funny. I do. What I'm saying is, regardless, you should be able to look at him and objectively say, Louis is the best at this. There's no argument to me. Like, it's weird.
If the Spruce Moose wins, I will be so devastated. Yeah,
I mean, there is a good chance that will happen. Unfortunately,
right. There's a terrifying chance that the Spruce Moose could get it, and I will be very upset.
To be fair to him, his audience do consider him comedy by and large, and if that is the case and they deem it, like, you can't argue with it. Like, do I agree? Not really. I think it's pretty weak, and lazy. But
there's styles of comedy for everybody, you know. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, Mike hit the nail on there.
You know,
Mike is correct.
Normally, I would just want to feel fine with that, but in light of in light of the many recent events, I don't feel fine with it. I'm like, if the attention was turned for this to happen, then I'm sure the attention will be turned for there to be a win, and then, you know, I mean, how dare I, right? I got every coworker in my clinic to vote for me last year, so
there's
you know
nothing
what?
wrong with that.
Mazel tov.
That's petitioning. Okay, so I got a good question on the specific topic. Do we even know if he's petitioning for the awards? You know, because with certain figures,
I have no idea.
People,
I haven't the foggiest. I don't watch his content other than whenever he talks about somebody I know.
Everybody was really worried about Robbie winning, and guess what? Robbie actually petitioned. You know, and it kind of like Cliff. That whole thing between Louis and Cliff, it could have gone either way, but guess what? The council put in that work, and they were out there like handing out dollars and be like, vote, you know, I mean, and it worked.
It's like, hey, do you want a free comic? All right, great. Here, I've got an iPad. Let's go.
Right. Look, I need you for like 3 minutes, okay? Just yeah.
And then we would ask them, what kind of comics do you like? Do you want adult? Do you want children? Do you want Marvel? Do you want DC? And we're just, so that's it. One of us would be with the iPad, and somebody would be giving me the box. And that was the last day. But I started at midnight last year, and I started at midnight this year as well. So, and you know, and last year I was campaigning on behalf of Empire. May he rest in peace. But this year, Louis and E-Man will be vindicated that laughter and that hair will be celebrated this
I
year.
don't
See,
know.
that-
I know a
that-
certain
that's where-
mustache in my life that may
Oh.
need to be voted for.
Yeah,
And that's
see,
what that
like
see, and
Rob
that
doesn't
ca- that
that is
category right there.
Rob
controversial.
does care.
Yes, it is, because I feel like the person that the category was invented on should have won by now. So I'm kind of gonna lead towards him this year, even though he doesn't want to win and he'll gripe
Are
left
you,
and right about
are
it.
you
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah. Yes, I am. Because guess what? I love E-Man's hair. Hands down, man. I mean, his hair flip. It's one of my favorite clips on YouTube. It lives rent free in my head. But but the category was. I mean, that's like Louis. There's certain categories that were like made for these people,
Yeah.
and that category was made for him. And if he doesn't win this year,
I think if Louis doesn't win this year, I think next year we may want to consider special acknowledgments, like
right?
like the best editing
like
award.
Hall of
Should
Fame,
DJ be nominated, or should we just name the award after
just
DJ?
give it to him, right?
Like this, like there's certain people in this community that are just so good at what they do. Maybe the award should be nominated after them instead of letting them be nominated. Like, and what I mean is comic reviews. Maybe it should be the Rock and Robbie Comic Review Award and the comedic Freaky Louie Award and the DJ Link's Best Editing Award. Like these people have segregated themselves so far ahead.
Well,
In most people's opinion, maybe it's time we just pay them tribute. Name
I
the
I
damn
would
award
argue
after
that
them.
that should happen once you have won the award,
Okay.
maybe, or multiple times.
Mhm.
Like, so DJ clearly is a step above your average Joe,
Mhm.
generally speaking, with his editing. But I'd make an argument, like, and I'm not
Right, John.
taking away from DJ's editing. I'd say that, say, like, Comic Tom's editing is also on a professional level.
Yep.
So, like, it's like you're sort of apples and oranges.
That's
at
a very
certain
valid point, DVH. Very valid point.
Because essentially Comic Tom is a professional run studio based show. I would say with something like The Hair, it's sort of a little bit it's supposed to be a fun award, and it's not supposed to be taken quite so seriously. But also, you can't deny that K-pop's hair is crazy good looking whenever you look at her. So,
Are
like,
you kidding me? Look at Sheena. Sheena's hair. I mean, there's some competition.
exactly. Like,
Every category.
They
That's
you
the
can
real
make
not
a
easy
good
this year.
argument for everyone.
No,
So
that's
being
the real-
like E-Man deserves it. Yes, he does. I think about that head whip all the time.
Right.
But at the same time, I also think every time I see K-pop on a stream, I'm like, her hair's crazy. And there you go. Like it's renting room in my head. And the same with CJ. If you're looking at hands, like the man has,
That's his gimmick.
yes. But also,
That
how the hell Popper didn't get the hands, I don't know. Like, I nominated Popper. I'm just gonna say it right. Like, I was like, that man throws the middle finger better than anybody else on the YouTube.
he does.
So, yeah. Okay. So I feel like we've covered our CBCA sort of shenanigans. So, any other business? So let's start with. Well, actually, no. To be fair, we didn't give Mike quite the time of day. So let's keep it brief. But what watch you this week, Mike?
Aliens Romulus. That was pretty
Oh.
much the big watch.
Ooh.
Excellent movie. I'm not gonna go into spoilers or anything like that. I'm gonna say like I gave it an 8.5, but I want to talk about the most fantastic thing. It's a movie that looks like it's in the 70s, filmed with new cameras. It was beautiful. It looked like they actually filmed on the stage of Alien, like the way the computers looked and the monitors. They did a real good job. I mean, the stage effects, like it felt like it was stuck in Alien, right?
Tremendous.
No, but that's pretty much the big watch. Was Alien Ramos fantastic?
What read you this week?
A shit ton. I'm all caught up with the Ultimate Universe, and for Marvel, hands down so far, that's probably the best that they're knocking out. I want to say like Ultimate X-Men's my least favorite, but it's still good. Like Ultimate Spider-Man has been hands down. It's phenomenal. The actual Ultimate title, I love the maker, and he's brand new for me so much. So I'm going back and reading the old Ultimate stuff to catch up with that. It's good. Um, but new stuff, I read Wolverine's Revenge. I'm actually going to do a review on that, the difference between the red band and the regular, which is kind of surprising. It's not so much different. It's literally like 3 panels. I was kind of surprised. But it's a really good read though, and the art, man, Capullo, and yeah, it's fantastic. But anybody read Patra from Dark Horse? And Mr. Mowell, this is right up your alley. It's a hack and slash with a mystery, but it's about a little girl that wakes up and her family's dead, and the book's kind of leading that she did it, but okay, there's a catch. She kind of has the mask. Remember, Jim Carrey, the mask. She kind of has that, and this thing just appears on her. It's like a mask that just suddenly appears, and it's like the skull mask. It's on the cover or whatever, but it doesn't just appear with the mask. She's got like a bloody knife that appears with it. So the book insinuates that maybe she blacked out and killed her family, but then you find out that no, there's actually like the supernatural force that's like chasing her or something like that, and it's attached to me. It's by Jamie Robinson. The last book that I know he did was that Junk Rabbit. I think that's what it was called. No, Patra was really good for like an indie, but for a first read, it was fantastic. The art is like this chalk, like line drawn art. It's really weird. You got to look at it. But that's probably my highlight so far that I can think of.
Tremendous. That has my attention now that you mention it, and I will make a point
good.
of seeking it out. Yeah, that sounds fun. Okay, so let's go with Chris. What have you got coming on your channel?
Well, over the last couple days, I've dropped some stuff. Thursday, I dropped a walking tour of Fan Expo Canada, walking around that incredibly large con. It is the third largest con in North America, just behind San Diego and New York. Friday, I dropped an edited version of my sit-down interview with Chris, the owner of Retro Rocket Comics, where we take a look back at the history and where we are and where he plans on going with that now pretty famous Canadian LCS. And today I dropped my new comic book day haul video where just outside Retro Rocket Comics, I spotlight the books that I picked up and also a couple books that's going to be going in my channel member giveaway. In the very near future, hopefully Monday, maybe a little bit later next week, I'll be announcing my 2,000 subscriber giveaway and details on what's going to be happening with that. Thank you, guys. And this Wednesday will be the next community hangout on my channel that I like to call Show Us What You Got, where this handsome fellow above me will be declaring his champion a little bit later on in that episode. Thank you, DVH.
I really do love that added element. Can we press DVH this week?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I do often wonder whether it's wearing itself a little bit thin. Like,
No.
but if everybody's happy with
People
it,
talk about it
carry around.
backstage. Like people
Wait,
talk about
let me
it
weigh in.
backstage. Yeah.
Let me
Yeah,
weigh
yeah.
in as somebody that does not watch your show. That's new to me, the champion thing. Explain that, because that was kind of intriguing. Explain that. You have a champion system?
So just because DVH, thankfully, I know it's a little bit later in his neck of the woods, watches the show, and then he would say, oh, I like this person's books the best. So I reached out to him privately saying, hey, what do you think about you declaring a champion of the episode just based on whatever rules you want? It's your baby. and go forward from there. So the panelists, again, it's an open panel. I know, Mike, you know that part. It's an open panel.
Yeah.
Anyone can come on and show what new books they have from New Comic Book Day, and or new books that are brand new to their personal collection.
PC. Yeah.
And afterwards, at the end of the show, based on what DVH likes or what his own rules,
Ooh, I
he
like
declares a champion of all the panelists that have been there on what he felt was the best selection of books for whatever reason he wants. And the only one rule I do know that is factual at this point now is if you show books on someone else's channel or a video previous to that night's Show Us What You Got, you're disqualified.
Well,
I like that.
That's not entirely true.
See, okay.
It's if I have seen that video, then you're disqualified.
But
because like Trev does his stream just beforehand, so
Right.
I know he's going to show those books on there.
Yeah.
But like I can't blame him for that, and also I'm not around for that, so you know.
But I can say DVH. I don't think it's wearing. I don't think it's getting old because people show up before, and they're talking about it. Like Rob showed up. He's like, "I'm winning this week. It's all over." And then Trev shows up and like, "I've got a secret weapon. You have no idea what you're in for." And so it's still
that
happening.
Ultra Magnus really nearly won this week. I was like, that's so cool.
When Trev showed the Godzilla one, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny a 50-cent Godzilla one. I mean, that's insane.
It's hard to beat.
Yeah. But thank you, DVH.
So, Cliff, we already did you, did we? Or did we not do you?
Oh, wait.
Okay, good.
Well, wait. About what I have.
I feel like we did, but it was a long time ago at this point.
Well, wait,
reiterate.
Do we do what I'm coming up with?
Yeah. What have you got coming up? Let's just do that.
Sundays at 5 p.m. with the council. This week we're reviewing Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. Monday nights, New Keys and Hot Comics at 8 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday nights, New Comic Book Day live, 8 p.m. Eastern. Saturday mornings, Comics and Coffee with Cliff. This Tuesday night, I'm on Paul in the 619. I can't even remember the name of the show anymore, but you'll find me there Tuesday night. Saturday morning, Rob Fettstacks of Comics is joining me on Comics and Coffee with Cliff. And that's all I can remember. I think I'm burnt out at the moment. But
Thank you, sir. For myself, I have a video coming up on Monday that will be, it's 4 p.m. UK time. I don't know when that is in other places. Then I'll be back here the same time next week, in theory. We'll see what happens. I should say everybody should donate something to Comics Curing Cancer.
Yes,
because it matters.
They should. Let me show you what I picked up at Terrificon for Comics Curing Cancer.
Hells yeah! Let's do that.
All right, let's start small. This is signed by Ryan Gary Brown. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. It's his cover. It's on the other corner of my index finger.
Tremendous.
And because Ryan is such a good friend to our community, he also gave me this original piece for Comics Curing Cancer.
Ooh.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Very
A
nice.
couple people that'll like that.
Yes.
And then because, I love Joe Prado. I've known him for many years. I adore him. He did that beautiful Iceman piece. So you can go and look at my Instagram and see that Iceman. So this is by Adriana Mello and inks by Joe Prado, and they both signed it. And it is a page from Constantine Truth and Justice #2.
Oh, I'm in.
That was worth Fist to the North Star. It was.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Constantine.
really cool.
Who doesn't love John Constantine? Like, come on.
Oh yeah,
Come
no
on.
question.
So
Tremendous.
I was just talking to him the first day, and then I bought this thing, and I said, when I got my stuff, I was like, oh, hey, do you have a page for me? And then he just flips open the art book and starts looking. He goes, let me find something with Adriana. And then he finds this. He goes, come on, let's walk over to her. And then it just happened. It's just great. I adore it.
Yes.
And right now, CBCS was there, so I have a CBCS grading process right now of Miracle Man #0 with a remark from Terry Dodson on it.
Oh.
So that is my third item to send into Comics Grand Cancer.
Excellent.
That is tremendous, Cliff. And I do want to reiterate that I think that everybody should try and donate within their means. Don't go crazy. But at the same time, it's really important that it gets to them beforehand because, like, not only do I think like it would be great to be able to hit that mark again that we did last year, but it's to try and kill cancer. Like it's the like if there's anything that you want to get behind, it's that. Let's take away the fact that we did something last year. Let's just try and do it this year because cancer sucks.
Well, here's the thing with the American Cancer Society, right? Like, what your money is going to people who are getting trips, who need trips to get their treatments, family who need assistance with the person they're caregiving for. And of course, a little bit of it also goes to research, but it's so much work that they do. So, like, you can imagine 50,000, I'm sure, really, really, really help somebody or a couple of somebody's.
Yeah.
At least, or maybe even a couple of families. Let me try to I don't want to downplay it because it's so important the work that they do, and I see it in my life. So I think it's just wonderful. I mean, I love them. I love St. Jude's. I'm a huge fan of Make-A-Wish Foundation. Obviously, I'm all into Toys for Tots, and I'm totally into supporting your local food pantries. So yeah, I think it's wonderful, and I thankfully I did not have to push. I did push a little too hard last weekend. Like I am ripped financially from last weekend, but I didn't have to go too far with this. Terry Dodson was so kind to me, especially because CBCS says you won't get Comics Curing Cancer on the label unless it's part of the remark. And he made it part of the remark, and when he wraps it up, and the guy standing next to me from CBCS, he goes, "You're clearly doing this for charity, so I'm only going to charge you $35." Rather than 60 and all the things. And he signed another book for me, like things that normally would have been added up to about $70. He was like, just 35. That's it. And it was just lovely. And they even gave me a little bit of a discount at CBCS when I did the submission.
Tremendous.
So, and I was very pleased that they they found me very animated, but they were not dismissive. The guy told me, he goes, "Well, if this is what you want, you take our guy over with you and you tell him to do this, and we'll make it happen." So good to know. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, all in favor of ending Parliament now say Hoot.
Nay.
Oh, no.
All right, fine.
Nay.
Right.
Mike, what do you got coming up on your channel, my man?
Didn't we do that? I swear we did that.
We didn't. Thanks, Chris.
My bad. I feel bad about that. Now I'm just gonna.
I'm just here to help, DVH. I'm just here to help.
I'm back in the corner, staring at the corner.
It's all right. It's all right. Me and Trev on Sunday nights, and then 2 weeks from now, we're doing still on Stephen King, but this time we're focusing on the comic side of the Dark Tower stories. We're going to start doing the Gunslinger Reborn, which starts the 19 arc storyline of that, and we're going to try and do it quickly, but we're going to attack all the stories because each comic is actually broken into 2 different stories. It has a comic story, which most comics do, and then it actually has a text form story at the back, so it's going to be kind of like covering 2 stories. I'm looking forward to it, but that's what I got. Thanks.
Awesome. I love how you're doing the complete Dark Tower gambit. You're just like, we're doing all of it.
This has been something that I asked backstage. Hey, y'all tired of this? Y'all want to go do something else? Because I kind of do on some levels. You know, I mean, I love Stephen King; he's my dude. But we've been on this for like 7 months already. You know, so I was kind of, you know, there's been talks of Dune and the Da Vinci Code and True Blood. You know, so I would like to tackle one of those other, you know, eventually. But no, I am liking the dark. I love the Dark Tower. So.
Let me ask you this. Like, we are finishing and we're wrapping up, but let's keep this quick. I suggested Badger read some Stephen King earlier because she is a crazy reader. She loves to read the books without the pictures. I don't get that, but she loves the books without the pictures. So, like, what should she check out first?
I guess it like Stephen King's he's such a weird author, right? Because he's titled as a horror author, but he's really not. He's more like
A
just
thriller.
strange and weird and yeah, and
How
thriller.
old is Badger again? Let's start there.
She's
No,
14.
okay. So let me explain. I started Stephen King at 8. My only suggestion is never take him to school. It doesn't matter what school. They do not like his books. Like I got expelled over his books twice.
Really?
Be-
That's crazy.
because they're pretty mature. You know, on different levels, mainly for sexual reasons. He kind of dabbles, and you know, and then well, okay, so age, I think because he's got books for everything. One of my favorite books and an easy one to get into, and it is Dark Tower related, but Eyes of the Dragon. It's one of his only like fairy tale books, and it's kind of, you know, it's right up a teenage. It's just about like it's kind of
Okay.
Game of Thronesy because it's about two
But
princes.
maybe she's a bit too young still. Is the
It kind of
thought,
depends.
generally speaking?
I mean, I just
because not all of his stuff is horror because he started doing crime books. His
Yeah, the
his
Bachman
End of
stuff
Watch,
isn't that bad. The Regulators I thought was a good one. Thinner is a good one.
the walk,
Um,
the Long Walk it's more
Yeah.
I'd say it's more a boy read than a girl read, but the Long Walk, and you talk about a fantastic read and something that we're about to get a movie pretty soon.
His
this
collection of
coming year.
short stories is great too. I see Fuzzy said "Stand by
Yes.
Me." There's
Body.
the body. There's a collection
I
of
love
short
The
stories. I think something until past midnight or before midnight. There's a handful that he does.
Or Past Midnight, yeah.
Yeah, and they're great short stories. I think
Because now,
Shawshank
I mean,
Redemption, Rita Hayworth
The
and
Green
Shawshank
Mile.
Redemption. It's in there.
The Green
The Green Mile's terrific.
and it's a short read too.
Yep. Just six
I think
small books.
I think the thing is that
Okay, I got one. The
Right.
Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon.
Yes.
oh okay, yeah.
It's about a teenage girl that gets lost in the woods, and through her love of baseball, that's how she survives. But it's got it's two different stories, and it's got a baseball story, and I love the baseball story. It's about Blockade Billy. It's kind of loosely based on a true story. Um, but it's really about the girl just surviving out in the wilderness, and it's a fantastic story. It's not a long read. It's one that I've been waiting for them to make because it's such an easy. I mean, I don't see the big dilemma with making this movie, but no, that's for a first read, especially for Stephen King, because I will say it does have a little supernatural elements to it. Um, but no, for a first read, that one's a really good one, especially because a lot of his stuff is kind of not to be mean, but I want to say it feels oriented towards men versus women kind of thing. But that's definitely a book. That's definitely a book that I could see that it's empowering for a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, because I know her, it would be preferential if it did lean towards women because that's what she's most interested in. So yeah, okay, that's interesting.
If she's more into the supernatural, Sleeping Beauties is a real good. And it is very woman centric. It's about basically a bunch of men dying in the world, and women kind of get special powers.
I essentially made the recommendation without really thinking about what I was recommending, because I was like, well, that's a great author, and you were asking me what you like, what I should read next, and I was like, yeah, Stephen King, because my friends absolutely love those books as well.
And there's a lot to love, but I'm like a lot of sexual stuff in some of his most popular stories. So I'm like, let's pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl who loved Tom Gordon was solid.
No, the girl loves the girl loved Tom Gordon is super solid. It is a great story.
Yeah,
you know,
that's interesting. So maybe I'll recommend.
He does have. I want to say like half his stuff is for the abstract, weird, reader or whatever. But he does have a lot of like. I mean, he has a whole like crime series that has no supernatural stuff in it. Like his End of Watch story is just about like a detective and like kind of sidekick, trying to stop murderers.
As in End of Watch the movie. Like, is that an adaptation?
No, they did adaptation of the series. It's I forget what channel did it. I think it was Oxygen that did the first series, but it's called the Bill Hodges trilogy.
Yeah. Also, DBH, the JFK assassination book where the teacher goes back in time. That's also a great read. It's not sexualized. It's the date. Yeah, that's a good jumping on point for Stephen King as well.
Okay.
A dude that finds a door that goes back to a specific date and time, and it just happens to be like a couple. I think it's like, what is it, a month before the JFK assassination or something like that. So he's literally using the door, trying to figure out either who shot JFK or how to prevent it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a dude there who's like wearing a different color hat every time you see him, and it reflects how volatile the timeline is.
Yes.
So like when the hat is green, then you know that time is on track.
Yeah,
I love
it's good storytelling with that one, DBH.
Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah, I'll have a think about it, and
there's probably one more Lindsay's story, or I don't know if that's how you say it. I think it's Lindsay, but it's about a recently widowed woman, and kind of like dealing with that and stuff. But that one, it kind of goes back and forth, and it does have an adaptation, which it isn't really good, but they kind of did a decent job. But I'm not gonna say it. But that's another good story that I would imagine that as a woman reading it, it's kind of like an empowering story kind of thing. Firestarter, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. I'll let her know the ones that you've said, and trying to avoid because in my mind I'm just sort of like, well, these are the classics that I know of that my friends talk about. I've never read them, so it's irresponsible of me to be like, let's do this.
Do not hand her it. Do not. You wait on that.
Or The Shining, or The Stand. let her get a little bit older.
Yeah.
Or Christine.
I think the one with the most sexual rigmarole that lives in my head is from It.
Oh.
It does have the biggest.
Needful Things was very sexualized too.
Yes,
it does.
A lot of his. But not like it. It is one of the, because it's not just your regular situation.
It's
a
deep
scene with a bunch
and
of kids.
Cruel. Yeah. Yes, cruel.
But it's all sorts of things going on.
It is.
I'm just saying there are multiple things. Some more cruel than others, but there are multiple things scattered through that story. And I'm just
I love it, but it is not for the faint of heart, and for like not even, I mean, because he's got some, like, for instance, one of my favorite stories is The Library Policeman. It's one of his short stories, but in that story there's a scene where a little boy gets handled in a not so good way, but for me it's
that
like
doesn't sound fun. I don't want to do that. Like,
No.
No,
yeah.
but for me, it's
All-
like
all of
Izzy.
it's like it's one scene in the book, and the whole rest of the well, it's not a book, it's a short story, but the whole rest of the short story is fantastic. But no, he does. I mean, because that's what he writes about. Is everybody envisions him to be this superstitious, magical horror writer, and he's really not. He really writes about the horror of real life and what real people do, and because most of his villains, yes, he does have villains like Pennywise, and supernatural like villains, but most of his best villains are people and the evil shit they do. And that's to me that's real horror. That's the scary. Because one thing, even in our discussion, because the Dark Tower is nothing but an action-packed thriller kind of thing, and his endings with the villains, they're real quick and to the point. And guess what? That's real life. You shoot somebody, they don't sit there and be like, "Oh, Batman, you got me." No. Usually it's like,
That 6-shooter
Yep.
hand cannon. All right, DBH, do your thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I turned on the mute when I thought I was muted. All those in favour of ending Parliament say hoot.
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 I now declare this episode of Parliament finished. Let's rock and roll.
And I don't really know. Well, I suppose, no. Really what happened was, no, the thing is, rather than confront, I thought,
Skip to the end.